Have you ever wondered what a dog can sense when a life is at risk and to act like a hero? Looks like something out of a movie, but trust me, it's stories like this happen in real life and the ability to change the way we think about our pets. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out right now might surprise you and wake up to a new admiration for our four-legged friends. We're going to talk about a scene that took place in a rural area, quiet location, in a place where it's routine, it's quiet, and the days seem to be to follow the sequence without the big surprise. In this environment, the simple, a pregnant woman who lives in isolation, taking care of her daily routine, a good part of the early warning signs of the time as expected, you are close to. She is all alone in his modest home, and everything seems to be normal until all of a sudden, everything changes. The feeling of discomfort is increased, and the pain become too much for you. And, as it turned out, the delivery may be closer than you thought it would be. At this time, in the hope mixed with fear, for they know that if something does go wrong, there's no one else around to help you out. And this is where the story gets a new twist. Have you ever gone through a situation of an emergency in which everything seems to depend upon a decisive moment? Well, it is exactly at this moment that is the natural instinct of a dog. For years, people lived with the family, come in this game, which has always been a companion and loyal, and sees the distress of the woman, and in a way that only animals can do it, it reacts in a way instinctive and immediate. Without a moment's hesitation, she rushes out the door, across the yard, and went to the nearby road, barking out of the way, pressing as if he was trying to get the attention of someone else. It gets me to the next chapter of this exciting story, because what happens next reveals the courage and the connection between humans and the animals that go far beyond what we could ever imagine. You're going to discover how an attitude is a simple but full of love and the instinct to save lives and change destinies. Get ready to understand the true power of animal instinct and what the dog did to turn a desperate situation into a happy ending. And it is precisely at this point that we realized just how much of our connection to these beings of incredible might be deep. And it's amazing. Every gesture, every look from it reveals a sensibility that's often overlooked, but which, when seen in the full of hope and wonder. The story that we're living together, we show that, even under the most difficult of situations, and the strength of love and of empathy, you can turn it all around us. And, as I reflect back on this experience, it is hard not to feel inspired by it, to act with more courage, more heart, and more of an understanding. If this story has touched you in some way, I say to you, I invite you to leave here in the comments on your own personal experience, an opinion, or a feeling. Share your stories or your questions will help to build a community where we can all learn and grow together. Your involvement is vital to this channel to keep growing and bringing you messages that you are making a difference in the lives of so many people and animals. And, of course, if you like what you've heard here, don't miss to enjoy this video. It makes a world of difference, so that more people can have access to this content is important. And if you want to continue with stories like this, subscribe to the channel. Here, every story is an opportunity to learn, to be touched, and to deepen our connection to the world around us. So, stay with me, because the best is yet to come. We should all continue to explore the power of love, of courage, and of the manner. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is exactly the essence of these stories, which turns out to be a truth to hide that many people tend to ignore. When we look at our own lives, too often we are faced with some sort of invisible wall and a layer of a limiting belief that's been built up over the course of a year, from each other's experiences, opinions, and external, and especially fears, silent. These fears, many times, they seem small at first glance, but they have an enormous impact on our daily decisions, our actions, and above all, on what is believed to be able to take over. The real transformation begins when we choose to confront it. This wall is built when we allow ourselves to see beyond our own limitations. And here comes a question, which very few people have the courage to face the truth hidden from you. We are the only ones responsible for our own story. It's a concept that sounds simple to do, even a cliche, but it holds a depth that few are able to fully understand until you actually experience such a change. To believe that we have the power to shape our own fate requires a mindset of the main character, someone who is not content to be just a piece on the chessboard of life, but we want to be the author of your own script. This is a journey of self-discovery. Free yourself from the shackles of the past past and take control of this. It is one of the most challenging because it takes courage to look within and to recognize their own shortcomings, but also to celebrate their own achievements. Often, the process starts with a simple decision. A decision not to take on any more excuses, not to get carried away by the standard, preset, or by the opinions of others. It's a decision to open our eyes to the impact that our choices have on the long term. You understand that every little step, however small it may seem, this is part of a greater change, which will influence the whole of our journey. And at this point, the truth, the hidden, is revealed even more of the powerful. What is really stopping us from moving forward is, in many cases, an internal narrative that has been repeated so often that it became our truth, a story of failure, a fear of a lack of self-worth. For this reason, it is crucial to understand that such a narrative cannot be a rewrite. We are not bound to follow a story that was written by others or by the external environment. Freedom lies in our ability to pick up new thoughts, new decisions, new actions. And when you do that, you start to realize that the obstacles that seem insurmountable, they were, in fact, the constructions of the mind that can then be deconstructed with a little bit of grit and determination. This revelation is liberating because it shows us the power to transform, that is, always has been, in our hands. And by acknowledging it, we make room for a change of mind and has an impact on all aspects of our lives, from personal relationships to the career success, going through the emotional well-being. When such a change in mindset happens, everything gets a whole new perspective. Obstacles cease to be binding and will be challenges to overcome with creativity and resilience. The questions, which before seemed to be in hanging, if you become the fuel for the search for solutions. And in it, we discover the power that lies within each and every one of us is a power that is often fell asleep out of fear or of the property. This is the time of the discovery, that we can begin to understand why so many success stories have one thing in common. It's a conscious decision to change, to evolve, and to believe that yes, it is possible to rewrite one's own destiny. And it is precisely through this journey of transformation in that it reveals a behind the scenes of a life more full, more authentic, and more aligned with our purpose. Each and every step that we take in the direction of bringing us closer to the truth than many of the times, it was hidden under a layer of uncertainty. Our greatest strength is our ability to choose and act for ourselves. That there is no greater force than the desire to change, to overcome and to conquer the things that, until now, seem to be far away or out of reach. And when you bring the idea, we found that the change starts in our mind, in our way of looking at the world and see ourselves in the world. And if you make this change, it all starts to make sense in a way that seemed to be impossible. With this in mind, it becomes clear that the journey of self-transformation is not linear nor rapid. It is a journey full of ups and downs, moments of doubt, and the amazing discoveries. But most of all, it's a journey that is worth it because it will lead you to a much deeper connection with our inner selves, with what you really are and can become. As we understand the impact that our decisions have on the construction of who we are, we gain a new perspective on what is truly important to you. And in this perspective, in turn, gives us the strength to carry on, even in the face of challenges to more challenging ones. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is at this point that many people can resist. The courage to accept that it is a true transformation requires a break with the comfort zone, with a decision to deal with the unknown and embrace uncertainty as a part of growing up. This is the culmination of a journey of success, not the one on which it is marked only by the achievements of the outside, but is a change in the internal echo in each and every aspect of our lives. And that is exactly what the behind the scenes of a real change they reveal. The willingness to look within, to confront their own beliefs, or both, and choose, once and for all, to create a new narrative for yourself. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, and it is at this point that we realized how much of a true transformation requires a courage that a lot of times we're not used to the exercise. Because at heart, a change that is not only fit the behaviors or patterns is an internal revolution, a deconstruction of all of the things that we believe to be true about ourselves. And this relation is often accompanied with doubts, fears, and even a certain strength to be silent, that he in the grip of the comfort zone, even with the knowledge that it didn't work for us anymore. It is as if, behind every decision, move forward, she was in a battle of quiet, conflict between the old and the new, between what we believe to be impossible, and that, in fact, it's just a matter of perspective. During this journey, we have learned that the greatest strength lies in our ability to persevere, even when everything around you seems to indicate that the path is too difficult for you or the rewards it can take a while to arrive. This persistence is not a matter of the imagination, but an in-depth understanding of the impact of the change begins in the mind and the mentality that we grow each and every day. It is at this point that the truth is hidden is revealed. Often, all that is stopping us from moving forward, it's an internal narrative that we have been nurturing over time. It is a story that insisted on saying that we are helpless, they don't deserve it, that we don't have enough of it. And at the same time, this narrative may also be rewritten. Just let us resolve to look beyond limitations and to make room for a new version of ourselves. The transformation in this context, it's a sort of journey of self-discovery where every decision you make, however small it may seem, it is a very important part in the construction of this new story. When we look at our own actions more carefully, you start to see patterns before they were invisible, beliefs that it acted as invisible barriers, but that in fact, it was just the stories that we tell ourselves. To identify them, we gain the power to challenge those beliefs, to question his origins, and particularly to replace them with beliefs that drive them forward. It is as if little by little we are removing all the layers of the mask, hiding our true essence, to reveal the strength that was always there, just waiting for the right moment to emerge. And it is no wonder that many examples of this transformation comes from the people who have decided to tackle on their own. Behind the scenes, in that part of themselves, they often prefer to avoid it, for fear of what we might find in there. Those behind the scenes who keep our own stories of both success and failure, all of our sorrows and joys, our deepest doubts. And when you think about all of this, we can begin to understand that none of the things which we live. It's no accident that every single episode is a part of the narrative to the larger story of the evolution that only makes you complete when you have the courage to face it. At this time, we find that the change is not a destination. It is an attitude, a daily, a conscious decision to reaffirm your commitment to growth, even when the way seems unclear or challenging. These findings show that, on the back of every transformation is dramatic. There is a decision to be silently not to give up, to continue even when hope seems far away. And this is a decision that many times, it is born out of the understanding that the biggest impact of the change, it is just at those moments of doubt when we were able to transform the feeling of strength, fear, into your motivation. This is where it connects to the journey of success is first and foremost a journey of courage. If you allow yourself to feel the discomfort is necessary in order to evolve, embrace the vulnerability, such as a friend too. Because deep down, when you look at the inside of sincerity, we have discovered that we are stronger than we thought. And that is the biggest key to lasting change is in the mood to continue, to move forward, even if I have all the answers. And in the process, we've learned that we are not alone. That is, each step taken in the direction of a new version of ourselves, it is a proof that, in some way, we are all connected to a greater power, a power that drives us to continue to pursue the things that truly matter. And in this connection, it gives us a new hope and a sure of what is the impact of our transformation, as small as it may seem, with reverberations far beyond what we could ever imagine. After all, it is the real change is to go on a journey of discovery, of revelation and rebirth, which once begun will never end up completely, as it is ever changing, always in motion, always inviting you to explore the new world. He comments that it makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely in this moment of reflection we begin to realize just how much our way of thinking, a lot of times, it is a real bridge the gap between who we are and who we can become. The bridge was built by our own beliefs, our fears, and our daily decisions. Many times, it seems solid, but in fact, is made up of the bricks, the invisible that we can dismantle any time. And this is where it goes to one of the greatest revelations. The real change doesn't happen by chance. She comes from a conscious choice to look within, to confront the things that limit us, and in a deliberate way, in a new way. When we take that step of courage, you start to realize that our actions, however small they may seem, they have a direct impact on the quality of our journey of transformation. Making a simple decision, such as a few minutes a day to reflect on our goals, it may not seem like much at first glance, but in practice, it works just like a seed, which over time it germinates and blossoms in a new version of ourselves. And what is more is the understanding that every choice is a chance to rewrite our history. We have begun to realize that the power of change is, in fact, it is always within our reach, hidden in the small actions in our day-to-day. The truth is hidden behind a lot of the success stories is that no one comes here by accident. Behind every achievement, there is in a growth mindset, a willingness to learn from the failures of courage, whether to reinvent and persistence, which defy any obstacle. It is as if, in the course of the journey, we had been in the making for the protagonists of your own film. You are capable of create scripts differ by rewriting the ended before it seemed to be stationary. And it is this transformation that begins in the mind, and soon, as shown in the impact it has on our lives, in our relationships, and in our view of the world. But it's also important to understand that this process is non-linear. At times, the road is full of ups and downs, moments of doubt, and the amazing discoveries. And it is precisely in these moments of uncertainty that we have learned the lessons of the most valuable ones, the ones that shape our inner fortress and reaffirm our ability to move forward. Every obstacle you face, every fear is overcome, in turn, increases our confidence and trust and helps prepare you for the next steps, which in turn will lead to a deeper understanding of who we are and what we are capable of achieving. This is a journey of self-discovery. It is, in fact, one of the greatest revolutions in which we live, because it sets us free from the bondage of the past and compels us to create a future that is aligned with our essence, is closer to the truth. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the revelation of the most powerful of all, is that this transformation is not something that happens from the outside to the inside. She was born in a paradigm shift, a change in the way we think about ourselves and the world. It's as if suddenly you see a truth that hides it, which has always been there, hidden under the layers of insecurity and fear, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. When the truth emerges, it acts as a catalyst to accelerate our growth and increasing our awareness of who we are, far more than we can imagine. And, to the extent that this insight builds, we begin to realize that each and every step that we take, each made a conscious decision that we make, is making a metamorphosis that we don't always get to see it right away. But over time, it does, in the form of a life more fully, more in tune, and closer to the truth. And so, over the course of the journey, we find that the impact of the choices we make will go a long way beyond what you can imagine in the first place. Every action, every thought, every feeling, feeding a stream of the transformation that echoes through every aspect of our lives. It is as if we are forming a network which is invisible to the possibilities, to be able to connect to opportunities, people, and experiences that before seemed out of reach. This connection is more subtle as it may seem. It has a knock-on effect. A small change today can generate a revolution tomorrow. And in the process, we have found that our greatest strength lies in our ability to act with purpose, to keep our minds open to new possibilities, and to trust that, even when a more challenging, there's a lesson to be learned and the opportunity for growth. And this realization leads us to reflect on the impact that our actions can have on our own history, the history of those that are around us, and even to those who are still going to get to know. With each step taken for the purpose, it becomes a seed to germinate. It inspires others to also seek their own transformations. And so, the journey is no longer something alone in order to make a flow of positive energy, which will create a change in the broader, more long-lasting. And in it, we learn that it is the truth, the more powerful it is inside of us, who are always there, just waiting for us to decide to access it and use it as fuel to move forward, stronger, more aware, and more connected to our inner selves more fully. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." I now want to go more in depth on this topic because the understanding of the connection between the core and the transformation we seek is not just a matter of positive thinking or the power of the will. It's a real journey of self-discovery, where every decision, however small it may seem, it is a piece of the truth that is hidden, that the treasury, which is often missed because of fear, doubt, or even for the sake of convenience. When we begin to understand that you are responsible for the impact that you can create in your own life, life, your perspective changes completely. We fail to see the obstacles as hurdles, and we see them as invitations to the evolving challenges of the frame, which can teach us something important about who we really are. Think of it this way. It requires a change of mindset that goes beyond the surface, a kind of internal revolution that rewrites the way we interpret the world around us. It's like if you opened up a door that was locked away a long time ago and revealing a space full of possibilities. In that space is our power, comes not just from the things that we accomplish on the outside, but on the inner connection with what is most authentic in all of us. And in this connection, in turn, is fueled by the fact that many of the times we prefer to ignore. We are the only ones responsible for making the impact we want to see in the world. When you dive deeper into this understanding, we realize that each and every decision that we make has a butterfly effect that reverberates in our journey and those that are around us. Each and every choice, it's a seed planted in the ground of our soul, and it's up to us to decide whether or not it will be a lot of courage, hope, and authenticity, or it will be left up to chance and miss the point of fear. This awareness leads us to rethink what is really important, and that is the key to our growth and our development as human beings. After all, that's the true transformation doesn't happen from the outside in, but from the inside to the outside. And it only comes when you have decided to take on the responsibility of being the authors of our own story. And in the process, you start to realize that the revelations of the more powerful they are, hidden in the simplicity of our everyday actions, in the small actions that seem insignificant, but together they create an abrupt and long-lasting. It is at this point that a journey of self-discovery becomes more and more engaging as we look beyond the surface, seeking to understand the roots of our emotions, our standards, and our limiting beliefs. This is a dive into the truth that is hidden, which is often under the rug, hidden away by the layers of fear, self-doubt, or even a false idea out of control. And as we have all this strength, you start to realize that the real transformation is not something that happens at one time or another, but it's an ongoing process, connection, and discovery, this internal revolution, and that frees us from the shackles of the past and of the limitations of self-imposed. It leads us to a new way of looking at the impact you can create, not as something external, far, far away, out of reach, but rather as the sum of the small efforts that are aligned with our deepest core. And when I do this, what seemed to be a constant battle evolves into a journey of learning, where each step reveals a new layer of self-awareness, new insights, new opportunities for growth. It is in this movement that we find the strength to move forward, even in the face of adversity, because we know what we are building is something that is beyond ourselves, something that leaves a positive mark on the history of our lives, and perhaps in the lives of those around us. Now, I want you to think about one thing. Where is the truth, the more in-depth? What are the decisions that you have stopped by fear or self-doubt? And in fact, can you move to continue on this journey, even when the way seems hard to find? He comments that it makes no sense to me. To immerse yourself even deeper in this discussion, we begin to realize that many of our limitations are not real, but rather constructs built that we have been nurturing over time. The truth is hidden many times, reside in the things that you would prefer not to confront, our fears, doubts, and insecurities that seem to be massive at the moment of making a decision. And then, in the process of self-discovery, we are faced with a sense of discovery, a kind of awakening silent, indicating that the major obstacle is not outside, but inside we are the same. It is as if for the back of the resistance was an opportunity for transformation, which often ignore it because of their fear of change, of losing what they already know, even though we know that it is not good for us. Have you ever noticed how the fear of making mistakes can itself become a kind of prison with invisible? It is as if in our own hands they were tied together with a rope, invisible, preventing us to walk in the direction of our dreams, or we decide that you really could be on the rise. And it's the most curious thing is that, for the most part, the line is invisible, is made up of the limiting thoughts, beliefs, that we, without question, of the expectation that we have created in order to please others or to avoid failure. And in the course of this journey, we have learned to believe, and that is what keeps us moving it outside. The circumstances are responsible for our progress, problems when in fact, it all starts in our minds. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because they understand that it is our own decisions that often are thrown into turmoil by that inner voice of doubt, that this is a critical step in for the actual processing. You realize that you have the power to rewrite history, to challenge those limiting beliefs, and to choose a new path. It's a revelation, too. It's like finding a key hidden in a box in the sun. When it was opened, it reveals an entire universe of possibilities. And when you do that, you start to realize that the change is not a one-off event, but a continuous journey of self-discovery and courage. Each and every decision we take, every step we take in the direction of our dreams, it is an affirmation that you're ready for the challenge that we hold and to embrace our true essence. In the process, we also recognize that the transformation did not happen all at one time or another, but it is built on a day-to-day, with the small choices that added together to create a profound impact on our lives. It's like a mosaic, each piece of the decision-making, stress, learning, and if it fits to the form of a new version of ourselves. And then, in search of behind the scenes many times to make it clear that the biggest enemy is our own mind, that he build the obstacles, and where, in fact, the potential is there waiting to be explored. It is a battle to be silent, what happens in our heads, but it has a direct impact on our reality. When we begin to recognize these patterns and to understand that we can act upon them, and everything gets a whole new dimension, the freedom to choose when and if it becomes more clear, and the responsibility for our actions becomes more aware of it. Thus, the impact of the change in its internal structure are reflected not only in the way we think about the challenges, but also in our ability to create a life that is aligned with what we truly believe to be our purpose. Every decision, every movement, it goes to the load, authenticity, and courage, because we know that we are in alignment with our deepest truth. And in this connection, the interior is what really propels you to a journey of transformation, even when the way seems full of obstacles, as we all know that, at the bottom, everything is within our reach, is simply to go to the next step. And it is precisely this understanding that you are the revelations that's more valuable than a true change begins from the inside to the outside. That is, the freedom to be who we truly are within the grasp of our hands, and that to be free of these shackles and invisible, we can come up with a narrative of the life that reflects the whole of our lives. Every decision is an opportunity to reinforce who you are and may challenge the limit and move to the next level. So, this is a journey of transformation, becomes a constant search for truth, authenticity, and the impact that it is possible to generate. The following is our way with courage and determination. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line because that's the true transformation doesn't happen with the big decisions and timely, but also in the way that you see each and every one of them." Many people believe that in order to change it to something that is external, it depends on many different factors which are outside of our control. But the truth is concealed. This is where the real change is born in you, in your mind, in your way of interpreting the world, and you react to the situations that arise in their day-to-day life. This is where it goes to the essence of their journey, to understand that each and every decision, however small they may seem to you, it's an opportunity to reaffirm your values and to strengthen their deeper convictions and to challenge what you is limited. When you start to understand that their choices are a direct extension of your understanding of who you are, it all starts to get a different size. It's not just to prevent errors or to seek out answers, but to create a genuine connection with your own truth, and one that a lot of times it is hidden beneath the layers of insecurity, fear, or even the high expectations that have been imposed upon them by a third party in the course of life. This connection is what fuels his impact on the world, because when you act in accordance with their essence, their actions become more and more authentic, more in line, and in this respect, in turn, transmits a force that can inspire the people around you. As I reflect on what really matters on your journey, you will begin to notice that you often limits it's an internal narrative you have created yourself, or that has been further enhanced by the experiences of the past. These stories may seem like absolute truth, but the truth truth is, there are only perceptions, which, over time, they become obstacles to be seen. The release of these restraints in mental is a crucial part of the process of evolution, and this is where it comes to the importance of an open-minded and to question everything she has learned, and to seek out their own truth, not afraid to look different and challenge the status quo. It is at this point that the day-to-day becomes more of a quest for a successful party, and she transforms into a real revolution in the homeland, where every choice is an act of courage to confirm its authenticity. You will begin to understand the impact that might have on the world. It is directly related to the strength of the mind, to the extent to which you will be able to stay true to his principles even in the face of adversity. And in this context, the revelations of the deepest appear only when you accept that growth is a path of continual construction, daily small wins that add up to create a lasting change. To see behind the scenes of this change, it is clear that it begins with an internal decision, a conscious choice to be open to new possibilities and to challenge their own limits. It's a matter of courage to own up to who you really are, to find out what motivates you, the truth. Understand what is the impact you want to create. It is not something far away, but it's something that comes from the inside and manifests itself in every action, in every thought, in every feeling, what you choose to grow. In the process, and the revelations that emerge gradually, often in the form of silent, almost as if a light to guide your path through the shadows of doubt and fear. And it is at this point that you realize that the key to true transformation lies in its ability to remain steadfast in your journey, to learn with some of the obstacles, to turn difficulties into opportunities for growth. With every step, however small it may seem, it builds up a story of courage, authenticity, and impact. And in this narrative, when it is aligned with your deepest truth, it's a legacy that transcends time, with a story of someone who's decided to follow his own path, facing his own shadow and bringing the light closer to the truth. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that really turns you on a journey of life. It's not just what we do, but the way in which we position ourselves in front of our own making. The real change starts in the mind, in the way that we take every hurdle, every doubt, every failure. When we understand that the impact that we leave on the world, starting in the U.S., gained a different dimension. It's not just the actions of the outside, but it is a great inner transformation that causes us to look beyond what your eyes can capture. It is at this point that the narrative of our story, it begins to grow, because we work with the most authenticity for the purpose of more clearly and, above all, with a heart renewed. The courage, in fact, this is one of the major revelations discovered at the over-the-scenes of this journey. It is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it, with the firm decision to follow in spite of what you feel. And that's where the truth hides plenty of times. And she said, what's stopping us from moving forward are no external obstacles, but also our own internal constraints, and the voices that urge us to unravel the questions that seem to be so small but cumulative, create walls and invisible. The voice, which at times seemed to be so excused, will need to be confronted with a new perspective, a mindset of growth, of lifelong learning. When we begin to recognize these patterns, we also start to break down the belief that in the trap and the building of a new narrative, one that is more in tune with who you really are and what you want to leave a legacy. It is at this point that the impact of our history, it is multiplied, because we no longer have just a viewer of our life, so that we could become the protagonists are aware of and responsible for each and every decision that we make. That's all. One thing is clear. It is the road to transformation is not a straight line. It is full of curves, ups and downs, the home unexpectedly. Every step we take, every choice we make, leads us to a new understanding of who we are and what really matters to you. The most fascinating part of it is that, over the course of the journey, the answers to which we do not often come in the form of ready-made solutions, but on the understanding that the power switch is always in our hands. This is one of the greatest truths I've discovered behind the scenes of the personal growth, the freedom to be who you are, decide what you want, and build up our own story, even when everything around you would seem to indicate otherwise. It's a matter of courage, a willingness to delve deeper into the essence, to find out which of the more profound changes that happen when we allow ourselves to see beyond what is in front of our eyes. And so, as I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that the impact that we want to generate in the world and is closely linked to our willingness to face your own shadows, to embrace our imperfections and make each and every experience, whether positive or negative, as an opportunity for growth. Because, at heart, a real journey of transformation, it is not a search for perfection, but it is a quest for authenticity and a genuine connection to our deeper truth. It is then that the narrative becomes a powerful one, because it is no longer a story of a trial and error in order to become a story of courage and decision-making, which is who we came with, and also to make their own decisions with greater clarity and confidence. And in the meantime, in connection with, this truth is hidden. We are the only ones responsible for the impact that we continue to drive us forward, always striving for a better version of ourselves. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation starts just at the time when the people of the view that the decisions we make every day to shape not only our present, but also for the impact they'll leave on the world around us. It is as if each was a seed planted in the soil of our future, and the responsibility to grow a healthy garden, or in a forest, the consequences would be out of control, is entirely up to us. It's not something that anybody can decide whether or not to determine for ourselves, but it's a fact that shows in the way we think about our own journey. When you really assimilate it, everything changes, and we look at each and every moment with more attention, more aware, and knowing that these small gestures, attitudes, and thoughts to pile up and create the impact that is, later on, you cannot even imagine. And in the pursuit of this understanding, many will find that it is the freedom to choose is, in fact, it is one of the biggest ways in which we can. The power to transform, to rewrite the stories, and to get out of your comfort zone that you will often hold to the old patterns of behavior. This freedom, however, it's the responsibility of the giant, which is often ignored or underestimated. The impact that we make on the environment, the people around us, for society as a whole, this is not something separate from us, but it is a direct extension of our way of thinking. This is where it comes to the importance of an inner transformation, a change of mind that leads us to look beyond himself and to realize that our actions will reverberate in the chain of effects which can be positive or destructive. Because of this, a lot of times, a fact hidden that only a few have the courage to admit it, that's the real power lies in the ability to make decisions, to choose how to respond to difficult situations, and maintain a focus on what really matters to you. And that strength doesn't come from a passive, but an active attitude of a person who understands that every day is an opportunity to do something different, to enhance the impact of the fashion conscious. When you have this mentality, if it crystallizes, it all starts to make sense. We act with more purpose, with intent, knowing that every step forward in the right direction, it is a part of a greater change, and that it can inspire other people to also rethink their actions. The journey then becomes a constant search for authenticity and a deep understanding of the impact that we can make, either in the external world or at our very core. And at the same time, it is revealed behind the scenes of the transformation and the moments of doubt, resistance, and fear that come on the way. Because change is not easy, and many times the greatest challenge lies within ourselves, that the voice that insists on the need to maintain business as usual in the comfort zone that prevents us from moving forward. But that's exactly where the real growth happens. The courage to confront these built-in limitations and to be responsible and liable for all of the love. And then, over time, an attitude of responsibility, aware that this has become a new norm in our lives, a way of being in the world that affects not only our choices, but also the way we think about the challenges. Each of the difficulties, rather than as a reason to give up, it will be an opportunity to grow, to learn something new about yourself and about what really matters to you. This is the essence of true transformation, to understand that we are not victims of fate, but the authors of our own impact, and that each choice has the power to change the course of history. And when you understand it, it seems to be getting a new color, a new dimension, where the responsibility is no longer to be a burden, and you shall be the driving force of the day, it is up to us to make it great. He comments that, it makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because I really identified with this idea that we have the power to change our story, one step at a time. This is a journey of self-discovery and change. It often requires patience, but it's also a dose of kindness to yourself. So if that kind of content, it made sense to you, take the opportunity to leave a comment saying, "I'm with you till the end," or some such phrase that shows that this message has touched your heart. It's always nice to know that we are not alone in this process of growing up. And by the way, if you like what you see here, give a like on the video. It helps you to strengthen your connection, and it shows that it's the content that makes a difference in your daily routine. Each and every enjoy it as an incentive for us to continue bringing you topics that will help us to develop in a gentle way. And it is true. In addition to this, if you subscribe to the channel, it's a way to make sure that you do not miss the next videos full of the ideas and thoughts that can assist you to follow this path of transformation and self-discovery. Oh, and for those of you who like to go even deeper, there's a video right here on the side which complements this subject. You can click and keeps me up there, so we can continue to exchange ideas and learn together in a way that is natural and smooth, just the way we like it. I really hope you continue on this journey, because the best is yet to come. And remember, every step you take, however small it may seem to you, it makes all the difference in your story. Then, in the next video, with more of the conversations that help people to understand the power of change is in our hands.